Tracy, how badly do you think it's going to cost the Thunder to have him out?
I don't think it's going to be that bad. Looking at their schedule, it is really favored for them to win a bunch of these games. I mean, they have way below 500 teams that they're facing. I think Houston Rockets is the only team that, can really give them a push. And Sacramento Kings is playing extremely well, but these other games are definitely winnable games, just having Paul George as their leader. So I'm not concerned. Even if he misses all these games, I still think they could come out with a winning streak.
That's a good point, Tracy. I've become a little bit of an amateur expert at watching these ankle injuries over the years.
I'm not a doctor, but...
And to me, that looked like a grade 2 ankle sprain.
Look at you.
Which...
doctor.
When the bone goes all the way to the floor, so we all have the MRI and everything, but I've seen grade 2 ankle sprains keep guys out 4 to 6 weeks before. Now, Russell Westbrook is a guy who's tough. He's got a different body. He is maybe one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen in my life. So maybe it won't be that long. Maybe it'll be shorter. But either way, I think it's going to be longer than that list.
And I'll tell you from a player's perspective, my rookie year, I twisted my ankle so bad. It was a high ankle sprain, and it kept me out for months. As my career went, I twisted my ankle, and it never really bothered me. I mean, I was back on my feet just like that. So maybe Russ can have this type of recovery.
I mean, we've seen LeBron twist his ankle how many times?
LeBron's ankles are the size of men's shoulders. I mean, he is an outlier amongst outliers. But you could just tell by the mood in the locker room, as we saw from Steven Adams, that they knew this was not going to be a couple of days. It's probably going to be a little longer. And the thing about it is, and you're right, the schedule is favorable, but they had just been getting going. They had won 5 in a row. And, in the Western Conference, even though we're seeing some teams underachieve a little bit, we're still seeing the bunching. So, you have a bad 2 or 3 weeks, and you could end up fighting back on that for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking around here the last couple of days about the way too early Western Conference standings. I think we've got a little bit at the bottom here, right? So, look.
And by the way, there's like a 4-way tie for 9th, too. Yeah. I mean, this is shaping up. The records aren't as good as we thought, but it's shaping up to be as tight as it was.
Well, they're all beating up on each other.
That's right.
The conference is so deep. There's just no easy games.
I mean, start of the season, you always have some teams that are going to be right there in the midst of everything. But then, mid-season, they all tailor off.
Yeah.
They tailor off.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I want to talk about the Pelicans because, as I mentioned a moment ago, 6 straight losses after starting 4-0. Is it too soon for New Orleans fans to panic, Tracy, especially considering Anthony Davis looks frustrated?
I think this is just all based off of Anthony Davis's health. These guys are playing great basketball until I guess he injured his elbow, and he hasn't played great basketball. So, yes, you have to perform at a high level, at an MVP level every single night, but you're capable of doing that. He has to get healthy because their wins and losses are predicated on his health. And right now, no, they're not playing great basketball, and Anthony Davis is not playing at the level that we're accustomed to seeing him play.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I have a little bit of experience watching a team like this where there's 2 games going on, as you mentioned. And being around the Pelicans a little bit earlier in the season, I know it feels to me like it did with LeBron and the Cavs back in 2009-10, where they knew the contract was coming up. And they had a good team, and they were playing well, but whenever there was a setback, there was that sort of anvil always creaking over their head. And that's the way I feel like it is. And as you mentioned, like last night's game, Drew Holiday played pretty well. Julius Randle had a great game. He was 10 of 10 from the floor. Mirotic played pretty well. He wasn't great, but pretty well. You get 3 of your 4 top guys playing well, you should win, even on the road.
And they lose Russell Westbrook on the other side.
Right, and in the first half, I believe that was. And third quarter. Okay. And Anthony Davis has a little bit of a subpar game. Still had 20 points, but didn't shoot well, and they can't survive it. And that's, I just know that the pressure gets on. This is already a team that's traded away a bunch of first-round draft picks. They've already kind of dug their hole a little bit. And so I know the feeling. I know what it's like to be around a team that's worried about their player leaving. And this is a 6-game losing streak feels like a 10-game losing streak.
But Tracy, I think your point about AD, he could look after Boogie got hurt last year. He said he invoked Russell Westbrook after KD left that team, and he said, "I just got to do it. I got to be like Russ." In that following season, I got to go out every night and just try to be that 40-point guy. And he did it for a lot of the end of last season, and he did it a little bit at the beginning of this season. I think there is pressure on him to do it again this year, not even necessarily for them to win, but for him to be able to look in the mirror at himself and to look at the rest of that Pelicans organization and said, I did everything I could do. And if now I have to move on in my career, I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion, if he decides that, he will feel better moving on. And I think the franchise will feel better if he had given them everything this year. And I know he's trying to do that. It's just a big load. You know, it's a big scoring load to be the guy every night.
It is a big scoring load, but this is what this guy is able to do. I mean, he's that type of talent.
Did you ever get tired when it was you?
No, I relished the moment. I embraced it. Like, that was my job. If we didn't do that, we didn't. If I didn't do that, we didn't win. And I think he understands that. He has help. Like, he has help. Mirotic, Randall is playing well. And Holiday is playing well. These guys are playing well enough for this team to win. He just has to be consistent at playing at an MVP level. It's just that simple.
Yeah. You've talked to Anthony Davis recently. I've talked to Anthony Davis recently. When he talks about wanting to play well this year, I don't think it's because he wants to pave any way out of town.
No.
I think he's being 100% pure and genuine. He wants to get the most out of this team.
Yes.
But again, that anvil is right there.